Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 11th. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and with me today is Jenny. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm great, Taran. I'm glad that I was able to join you today to talk about the top story of yesterday, whether or not Tyler has an ass tattoo. So looking forward to the real important stuff.
Very important conversation there. It got kind of intense there for a minute.
Honestly, I find Angela and Tyler's flirting very uncomfortable to watch. Like I get secondhand embarrassment. And I feel like Kaycee, when she's there, she's the buddy that's kind of trying to help her friend flirt with a girl. I don't know. I just get uncomfortable watching them. I still have not gotten onto the Tangela train, but yeah, that came up multiple times yesterday.
Maybe someday you'll catch Tangela and you'll learn how to cope with Tangela, because it'll evolve into what does it evolve into? I forget.
Oh, it's like the next Pokemon or whatever. Yeah.
Tangrowth.
I don't see it happening. Oh God.
That sounds so bad.
That sounds very dangerous.
All right, so we are here to update you on everything that happened on the Big Brother 20 live feeds yesterday. And we had the veto ceremony, but obviously, didn't really have any impact because Kaycee did not use the veto. Haleigh and Sam will remain on the block on Thursday night. And after the veto ceremony, Sam did go talk to Tyler. She was like, "Am I okay?" And Tyler's like, "Yeah, you're good.
Don't freak out.
Yeah, you've got the votes. You don't need to talk to Angela. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Just don't freak out. Stay calm.
Get back to your crafts. Be okay. Yeah, find something to keep yourself busy. Stay away from doors. Don't take them off the hinges, and we're good."
Mm-hmm. So that's all good. Tyler then goes and talks to Brett. They talk about how Haleigh does not know that she's going. Maybe they should get Kaycee to tell Haleigh that in the result of a tie that she would vote to keep her in order to help keep her in the dark, and keep her off of Kaycee. But then she's gonna run and talk to them a lot. So they're just how do we deal with Haleigh?
They're like, "Oh, I'll just let Kaycee deal with it. Because if we get her off Kaycee, then she's gonna be annoying us, and we already had to deal with that all of last week." So, but they discussed that Haleigh's been reasonably calm this week, so I'm thinking she feels safe.
Yeah, and they're fine with that because they don't want to have to deal with not calm Haleigh.
No, not at all. And it's too bad because now she's actually in danger.
Yeah.
Poor Haleigh.
Tyler,
it's like a train wreck.
Yes.
Slow.
Yeah, it's been a very slow train wreck for Haleigh.
A couple weeks.
Her downfall has taken way too long. Yeah. The ramifications of this battle back are never going to end. No. So Tyler does mention to Brett that, hey, Angela and Kaycee really want to take us down to the final four, and at that point we'll have each other. It'll be great. We know our days. We'll be able to save each other in the final four veto. We'll take out the women. Everything will be fine. Tyler's really trying to reinforce that we are not going to turn on you. The women want to keep you until the final four, and then you have me. I promise. We're all good. We're all good, Brett. Don't think about maybe turning against us like you might be thinking about.
Don't spend any time listening to JC. It's level 6. The girls want to keep you. You're getting very sleepy. He mentions it to Kaycee later that he was consciously trying to enforce that the girls are good with him.
Yes.
Hard to tell if Brett's buying any of that, but
yeah. They talk about how JC only wants one of the women in the final four. JC, he just hates.
I wonder
women.
which one. Yeah,
He just wants the women gone. He wants to be in the final three with the two of them.
Just bros.
Yeah, of course. Tyler knows this is not true. Tyler knows that JC is actually. I think JC is leaning toward taking Sam to the final three, but Tyler is encouraging Kaycee instead. But Brett thinks that Tyler wants Brett in the final three. So he's like, man. JC just wants all the women gone. They also talk about Sam and who her target would be if she won HOH. They assume it would be Angela, but they have no idea who would go up on the block next to Angela, and that's a little scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, giving any power to Sam is quite terrifying, to be honest. Doesn't depend on who you are at all. It's terrifying in general. But yeah, they're saying Angela's the target, so it wouldn't be the worst thing, but what do they do? Like, who's she putting up next to her? So, it's really getting down to things with Haleigh going out the door. The last thing they need is Sam getting HOH, because I don't think they see JC going up next to Angela. They have to think that it's probably one of them. But then again, it's Sam. Who knows?
Yeah. So they also talk about how it needs to be 2 level 6 members sitting in the final 2. Otherwise, JC or Sam will win a jury vote because the jury is going to be bitter. So they need to make sure it's 2 of them. It's they can't take Sam. They can't take JC. Again, reinforcing level 6 to the end.
You got to wonder, what Tyler actually thinks of this, because does he actually anticipate that sitting next to Sam would be terrible for him? People are going to be that bitter that they're going to vote for Sam to win. That's who they're going to have win the season. Yeah, you got to wonder.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's
a dark timeline.
It's very possible. It really is. Haleigh later on in the day is going to say that she thinks that Sam would win if she went to the end. Granted, Haley's on the block next to Sam, so she's incentivized to say such things. But yeah, honestly, it's hard to say. We're acting like we're confident about how bitter the jury is based on what Scottie said, but we have no idea. Scottie misrepresents things all the time. For all we know, they could be in the jury house talking about how they want to vote for the best player. Is that likely? No. But it's so random, really, what the jury house is thinking at any given moment. So,
and time can heal wounds in some cases. I don't know. It'll be a couple more weeks. It's been a couple weeks since the battle back now. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it also really puts into perspective if Sam can win, then it's is anybody really doing good jury management if Sam wins against anybody in the final 2?
Well, that's the thing. It gets beyond a point where it's is there such thing as jury management if no matter what you vote people out, they're going to vote for the least consequential person that had anything to do with their their downfall whatsoever? Then there's no nothing you can do can prevent that. Exactly. So if everyone's on the same playing field of their jury management wasn't enough to get them the win, then what is the state of the jury management in general at that point?
Exactly, and that's why I often find that people are way too polarized on the jury management idea, where it's either there's no jury management or jury management is everything. It's no, there's a middle ground. There's a lot of luck involved to jury management, and so you can do your best and still not get there because you're really unlucky about the makeup of the jury and what they happen to talk about and all of that stuff. If Sam can beat anybody, then there's really not a whole lot that you could have done to win that jury over, other than, of course, not take Sam. But the point that stands is that this is a jury that would have voted for Sam, meaning this is not a jury that could have been managed by anybody in that house. So if nobody could manage the jury, then nobody's really at fault for losing the jury. So things to keep in mind depending on how this season plays out.
Well, and the other thing is like you can be focusing on your individual relationships with jury members as they go, but you have no control over what happens in the house and the discussions that take place. The hive mind, which is funny given the the people in the jury currently. So I don't know. It's like the whole jury management part of the game is just like really the most difficult, and people really don't have a good like. I don't think that anyone left in this house, with who's in the jury right now, feels very confident about who's voting for who. Like this is a big guessing game for the end game. Like, like we're getting a bit of insight with Haleigh later on in the day when she's talking to Brett, but with her being the last of that alliance member going to jury, like you get a snippet, but like how much control does Haleigh have over to the jury? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does she get into the house and she, helps unpoison what's going on there, or is it too late and everyone has just been stewing for the last couple of weeks? Like there's just such a lack of control that you can really only do your best while you're in the house, and that's where the element of luck kind of comes in.
I also think there's a little bit of momentum to this where, we've talked about how there have been some juries that people might call bitter in the past few years. And especially with last season and the talk of jury management and the fact that Paul lost the game, I feel like it's more relevant. It's more present in players' minds right now because of what happened last season. It's obviously the one season that everyone has seen because even the recruits were shown the most recent season, I imagine. Not
Sam. She just watched clips.
Right. But I feel like it's in their heads to be extra judgmental about, like, if I am even the slightest bit offended by anything that you have done, then I have the right to vote for the worst possible player, because that's what I saw last season. And therefore, we have people like, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, Brett saying like, well, if I was betrayed this week, I'd be bitter as hell, and I wouldn't vote for whoever did it. I feel like there's a lot more talk about being bitter as a jury member in a more justified way than there has been in the past, with this cast and with this season in particular, which is, I think, another part of the luck of quote unquote jury management, of like they happen to be in this current era, in this current time, in this current environment where this is a bit more prevalent than you might normally see.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's almost as if, witnessing prior bitter juries almost reinforces that that's a thing that's justified. And so it's like, oh, well, that jury was bitter and they were justified in making those votes because of what so-and-so did. So it justifies their own bitterness, because it's like, well, you can rationalize it inside yourself, whether, you think that that's actually fair or not. Like they could just be like, well, I didn't like this person, and if she didn't do a good enough job of making me like her, then I'm justified to not vote for her because this has happened. The more that bitter juries happen, the more that they will continue to happen. So
and what's interesting to me is that I feel like the audience is a part of that cycle, where last season when the jury was bitter, people were applauding like this. Thank you for ruining the Paul steamroll. The jury saved the season. That was the best part of the season. The crack on Paul's face. And so I feel like, again, it's a little bit more like, yes, bitter juries are fun, but if we have a bitter jury this season where people are not on board and they're mad about it, then next season people, I think, would be a lot less likely to be bitter. Like the audience does play a significant role in how bitter juries are viewed in the game, and because the players don't want to do something that will make the audience angry with them, that's a massive influence. Honestly, probably more of an influence than the players even, in terms of how bitter they are, if they are tuned in enough, or they have enough people in the house that are tuned in enough to the fan base. So there's a significant audience involvement here, I think.
Yeah, because I mean, if we get a situation where Tyler loses and the audience is really upset about it and is like condemning the jury for, you know, how, depending on who he's sitting next to, I guess, you know, like in that darkest timeline where he's next to Sam or something like that, that definitely could change the whole narrative, because a lot of people, like you said, you felt very justified that Paul lost to Josh, you know, despite how the jury voted. But I do think that like the Twitter blow up could definitely shift that narrative, and it won't be the same sort of thing.
Yes. All right. More on bitter juries tonight when we get to the roundtable. We'll have some fun there. So Brett does say one more thing in this conversation with Tyler. He says, you know, early on in the season, Winston was trying to tell me Haleigh was like the mastermind of the other side. Turns out she's more of a Raven. She's been the Raven of this season. She's done nothing.
Oof. What an insult.
Brett with the hard-hitting comparisons here.
That's rough. I get what Brett is trying to say, and you know, he's right in that Haleigh's not a mastermind, but I don't think that Haleigh is a Raven, because Raven was controlled by someone.
Raven
you know
was a mastermind.
Oh, right, sorry. Sorry, I forgot that part.
Yeah, well, I'll give her this. Raven did not vote bitter.
That's true.
That's one thing she might have over Haleigh. We'll see.
Yeah.
So Kaycee and Tyler talked. Kaycee mentioned that they should be studying their days more. Tyler says, yeah, for sure. I've been trying to not study with Brett as much, but like he's the one that like trained me. So we might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, like, you know, that has already taken off. Like Brett has already done the work. So it's almost like, at least if you're studying with him, then you know what he knows, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, if he doesn't want to be, you know, at the end with Brett, he needs to make sure, like the discussion he has earlier where him and Brett are saying like, oh, the competitions are going to be more about like that final veto or whatever is going to be more about like the days and like they don't know them. Like, okay, well, if the two girls that you're considering going to the end with don't know them, then you need to help.
Yeah, I don't know if
you can't do this on your own. Well, maybe you can, but I don't like.
I don't know if anybody in the audience has played the game Jade Empire, but I would love to see a situation where Brett ends up winning the game because while training Tyler on his days, he's embedded a weakness. He's planted some false facts in Tyler's training, and then so Brett is able to beat him in all of the end game competitions because Tyler just has this one weakness that he's not aware of, and Brett comes out on top because that would be fun, and that's a very Jade Empire sort of thing. So.
It'd be great if it was just like one key detail, but like the rest of it was all right. And
exactly.
that one thing is the thing that Brett knows. But the thing with the days thing is like, you have no way of knowing what sort of, you know, like what type of things they're going to ask. Like, it's good to know a little bit of like, you know, to know everything, but you don't know what kind of questions are going to be asked. So it would take a lot of control to know what thing to like, you know, mislead him on, because you don't even know if that one thing is going to, you know, come into play.
Yeah, that's why it would need to
but it would be brilliant if it would be brilliant if it did work.
There's a lot of luck that go into the honestly, Brett could still easily lose many of these questions and day comps just because there's so much variety that goes into the questions, but you know, that's how it goes. Tyler also talks about how Brett he overemphasizes how much the jury hates him, and he's hoping that they're gonna take him to the finals because he's like, oh man, the jury hates me. I was really bashing the jury during that veto comp. I hope they don't see it. He's like, I'm seeing through this. He's really overemphasizing this.
Yeah, it's very obvious. Like, he takes, you know, all the opportunities to talk about the goodbye messages and, you know, what Scottie reports back and all of the things he's doing. So, you know, I mean, Tyler is smarter than everyone seems to think he is. So Yeah, he's not being fooled here.
Yes. Brett talks to JC. They agree. At this point, they're talking about, like, do you think Tyler and Angelina showmance? I don't think so. They probably just hang out a lot. Nah, that's probably all it is. But this question is in Brett's head for most of the day.
Yeah, and it seems like Brett goes back and forth throughout the day where he's like, yeah, no, like Tyler said that it's not a thing, and I think I believe him. And then like he goes back to like, yeah, but like it really is a thing. Like I've noticed like there's been a shift, and then he goes back to being like, no, like Tyler doesn't have any game, like that's not a thing. And then like back to being like, no, this is a thing. Like I don't know if he's actually battling his own thoughts about this or if he's, just trying to seem like he's not onto it. But he does go back and forth throughout the day about whether he thinks that Tangela is real and whether it's happening.
It's real. There's real. Images on Google.
You've seen that sexual chemistry. It's just, it's ripe.
Yeah. JC talks about how Angela and Kaycee need to be split up. Unsurprising. They talk about needing Haleigh out this week because she can beat them in a jury vote. She also can't be trusted. JC says that Angela is the one thing in this game that he did not plan for. It really took him by surprise. And he's just like, man, if Angela is the reason I lose this game because I didn't anticipate the position that Angela would be in, I'm going to be really annoyed.
Yeah, he did not anticipate the femme fatale, the real femme fatale in Angela that, is stealing away his precious Tyler. Brett
was really worried that he was going to be backdoored today during the veto ceremony. He was like, there were definitely some moments there where I was like, I'm a little worried about this. JC says that would have been a really smart move if they'd done that. And Brett was like, yeah, actually no though, because I would be super bitter and I'd never vote for Kaycee if she did that to me. So
just another subtle hint that like the jury is bitter.
Exactly.
Brett taking all those opportunities to hint that the jury would not like these sorts of things. And he hasn't been especially nice to them. So why don't you drag Brett to the end?
Yes. They are worried that they're worried about Angela winning HOH. That is the thing that concerns them the most. They think that Angela will put them both up if she wins. So they really need to take their shot when they get it. And they say, Angela, she's in the middle of this. Angela's with Tyler, Angela's with Kaycee. Tyler and Kaycee, they're not that tight.
Not a thing.
No.
Definitely not a thing. And while this conversation is taking place, I'm pretty sure that Kaycee and Tyler were talking about them being a thing.
Yeah, they're only the tightest alliance in the house since day one, but totally not that tight.
They're only together because of Angela. She's the glue. Yeah.
Tyler and Kaycee were talking. Tyler mentioned that he has told Brett about Kaycee and Angela wanting Brett in the final four. Mentions that he was trying to reinforce that. Kaycee asks Tyler if JC has made a final two with Tyler, and he's like, yeah, JC, he acts like he owes me, or he acts like I owe him, this stuff because of how much he's done for me and all of that. But no final two or anything.
Definitely not a final two with him and Brett and Sam. But the one thing that kind of struck me about that conversation is like Kaycee is just like, he really doesn't realize how smart you are. Like he thinks that you're a lot like less smart than you are. And it's like, Kaycee, yes, you are right. Why? Like, isn't that something that you should also process for your own game? Like, yeah, this is a weakness of JC thinking that Tyler is not as smart as he is. Yeah. He's as smart as he is.
Kaycee knows.
And you still want to go to the end with him.
She knows everything. She knows Tyler's in a showmance with Angela. She knows that Tyler's been running the game. She still wants to take him to the finals.
That's the thing is like, she's actually like in a great position in the game. She's got good reads on everyone. She's got good relationships with everyone, but she like doesn't know what to do with it. Like she doesn't realize that, the clock is ticking and how this works out for her. Like it's just, the loyalty is so real and it's like an admirable quality in like the first 2/3 of the game, but this has got to be her, you know, like her fatal error here is realizing. It would be one thing if we would say that it's Tyler doing a good job, that she's misunderstanding how good of a player he is and that she thinks that she can beat him. But like, she's got to realize that she's not going to win next to Tyler, pending bitter jury, all of that nonsense. Like, let's not even go there. But like, she's the most aware of Tyler's strengths and still wants to go to the end with them. Whereas at least the other people that, you know, Tyler has deals with, you can tell they don't see him as like for the player that he actually is. So I just like, that just drove me nuts. I was like, yeah, you're acknowledging what like a competitor and what a smart person Tyler is, and that he's the one that's made these moves, and it's like you're still planning on going to the final two with him.
Yeah.
Oh, Kaycee.
JC underestimates Tyler. She doesn't, but she still wants to go to the end with him. Tyler does say that JC told him his plans are to nominate Angela and Sam together. So that's good. That's something, at least, for them, that JC told Tyler, and we mentioned this yesterday, that he plans on nominating Sam next to Angela instead of Kaycee. If that is the case, then they can protect everyone and everything will be fine. So they're a little optimistic there.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, this is great for Kaycee, and Tyler has, you know, managed to get JC off of the, you know, putting up Kaycee and Angela together. And, you know, at that point, it doesn't even, if level 6 is truly going to stay together, it truly doesn't even matter that Angela is up on the block next to Sam, because they have the votes. So if this is what JC goes through with, if he were to win HOH, this is not a good plan for him, but
yeah. We'll see what happens. I imagine, I don't think he'll actually, I think if he wins, he will actually put up Kaycee and Angela, but
I hope
we'll
so.
see.
I gotta hope for something at this point, Taran. I want an exciting double eviction on Thursday.
Yes, we did have some a little bit of controversy about Tyler and whether or not he has a tattoo on his ass.
Let's see it.
Yeah, he claimed he did, and then Angela was like, "What is it? You know, can I see it?" He was like, "No, I'm not going to tell you." It's like I said, this got a little heated. It's got a little heated for a second there, with Angela like, "Why aren't you telling me?" He's like, "If I told you, you'd be even more mad." And she's like, "Well, now I'm even more mad." And he eventually tells her he doesn't have a tattoo. He was making the whole thing up.
Wow, what a fun joke.
Yeah.
Like, you can just tell that they're reaching peak boredom, where like this is a thing throughout the day. Like I know I made a joke about it at the beginning, but like this was something that came up in numerous conversations throughout the day. Like the fact that this is the joke. Like, oh, do you have a tattoo on your ass? No, I don't really. I was making it up. Like, that's how bored they are, that they're just like making up stories to have some sort of conflict and something to talk about.
They're very sexually frustrated, and they need to do anything they can.
You can see it in 16 days. He kept saying this, like, and like in front of Kaycee, I was like, this is uncomfortable. Like,
yeah.
So awkward.
So finally, Haleigh and Brett had some conversations late in the night. They talked about how Sam would win in a jury vote. Haleigh's concerned that Sam is staying so calm this week. She was like, I was really banking on the fact that Sam would freak out, and she is not freaking out, and that really worries me. And then she talks about like, you know, you're with Tyler, Angela, and Kaycee, aren't you? Like you were celebrating together. And Brett's like, nah, what? No. That was, you know how like Scottie celebrated with you and Fessy, and then Scottie went home that week? It doesn't mean anything. So he's denying this. At which point Haleigh's like, well, if that's the case, then you're screwed next week. Like you or JC need to win the HOH, because that trio is just gonna wreck shop all the way down to the end if you don't.
And Haleigh continues to talk about like this whole scenario where it's almost assumed that that 3 is the one that's going to the end. Like she starts discussing, the different scenarios of the vote and stuff like that. So she's, Haleigh's going out the door, but at least she's kind of continuing to feed the, the hopeful Brett JC coalition against the Tangela Kaycee trio.
Yes,
because she's enforcing that's the 3 that they're going to get down to.
She also she mentions many times she thinks that Angela has Tyler wrapped around her finger. It's just like it was with Kaitlyn, where Tyler just follows her around. In fact, Brett, you should try to work with Tyler because he is on the bottom of that that totem pole. She also says, if it comes down to it, if Angela is sitting next to Tyler, I'm voting for Tyler. If Angela's sitting next to Kaycee, I'm voting for Kaycee. But on my way out, I want to tell people that Angela has my vote, so it makes them not want to take her to the end.
That is like peak bitterness. Like I'm not going to vote for this person no matter what, and I'm also going to make it known that I would vote for them so that they can't even get into that situation where I don't even give them their vote. Like she wants to destroy her.
Really
I mean, if that's all you've got left in the game is to screw up somebody else's chances, then I guess, you do you.
Yeah, it's I don't find it endearing myself, but
No, I'm not saying it's endearing. It's just interesting that's her. But I mean, I don't. It comes from a place of bitterness, obviously, because she's acknowledging that she thinks that Angela is in control of both of those relationships. But from our outside perspective, Kaycee beating Angela, Tyler beating Angela is not really a bitter jury scenario, but the rationale behind that for her is more bitterness because she doesn't actually see Tyler as having any control over Angela. So it's kind of like falling into the win.
Yeah, well, they think that Angela has played a better game. They think that Angela has played a masterful game, controlling Kaycee, controlling Tyler, and because of that, they want to vote for Kaycee or Tyler. Which, to be fair, I think that Angela is a case of she did mishandle this jury in the sense that she directly antagonized them and never really had much of a personal connection with them, unlike basically the rest of the house. I don't think you can say that of anyone except for Angela. I think Brett has obviously done some of that as well, but Brett has done a decent job of making up for it in some cases. I don't think you could blame a jury too much for being bitter at Brett, but I'm not sure that they would be to the extent that they are at Angela.
And Brett has a charm to him that Angela lacks. So, even though he's participated in the cocky goodbye messages and stuff like that, he even endeared himself to Rockstar, after all of that happened, and, then kind of screwed it up with how he sent her out. But he has a way of charming people. We all know about, the mist or whatever that Scottie claims that he has. Angela does not have that. So even Brett has a leg up over her in that case. But I just really want to know what is what is the story of this season where Tyler wins, not because he does a good job of selling his game at the end, because the jury, that's how they reward the person they see as the lesser player. That is a real possibility at this point. And the greater audience sees Tyler as the most deserving player. So it's no one wants a bitter jury to award the wrong person. But what if in this scenario, the jury sees Tyler as the wrong person that they just end up giving the win to? And then the audience is hey, that worked out.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
like,
wild.
People have been concerned all season long that the jury's not going to recognize that Tyler has played really well. But it's like, I don't think you need to be concerned about that if you're like hoping that they vote for him, because I think that makes them more likely to vote for him, to be honest.
But that tampers like, you know, his like legacy or whatever. Like, you know, you want to see him win properly.
Well, I mean, if the jury is going to be bitter no matter what, then there's no way to win, quote unquote, properly. Yeah.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
No. So Brett does encourage Haleigh a lot to talk to Kaycee, come to her with these ideas about Tyler and Angela and all of this stuff. I don't know why Brett is encouraging this, but you know, Haleigh has a newfound resolve to go work on Kaycee. He did say, to be fair, he was like, you should talk to Tyler. Tyler's the person that you need to talk to. Tyler's the person that could change things. And she was like, nah, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to work.
He has no agency in this game. He just does what everyone else says.
Yeah. So she plans on going in and talking to Kaycee at some point today about the votes and all of that, and we'll see how that goes. She also talked about how sometimes she thinks she can hear some shuffling going on in the blue room where Tyler and Angela sleep. They sleep in separate beds in the blue room by themselves. That's their room. And so she's like, sometimes I feel like I can hear something going on. And this really freaks Brett out, because he's like, oh, wait, are they really in a showmance? Like, he comes back to this time and time again. He's like, do you really think you heard something? And Haleigh's like, well, I don't know. Like, it could be in my head. I could be imagining. It just seems like there's a lot of, it could just be readjusting and, you know, whatever. But, you know, I thought it happened. This is like really, really getting in Brett's head.
Well, and he gets to the point where he brings up the dessert gate or ice cream thing, like the exact same thing that we talked about last week, where he's like, let me get your opinion on something.
There was this one time.
There was this time. It was like the mint chocolate, and she would never try it. And then Tyler's just like, has them, and she's like, okay. And then like Haleigh's like, yeah, like she doesn't even ever eat dessert. Like that was weird. Like they're just like feeding each other this like paranoia about them. Well, but like this thing is like ingrained in Brett. Like that is like the one thing that he clings to as like the reason that Tyler and Angela are real.
I think we found something out last night, which is that obviously we've known for a long time that JC is jealous of Tyler and Angela. I think last night we found out that Brett is also jealous of Tyler and Angela. Yes. Like, why wouldn't she take the ice cream from me? And he then later talks about like, you know, I can tell because before she was very receptive to my flirting, and now she's not receptive to my flirting. And it's just like, why Tyler? What is since like, does he have some sort of like is he like smooth with the ladies and I'm just not aware of this? Like, what's going on? Like, how is he getting all the Kaitlyn, Angela, like what, how is he getting all these women and none of them are paying any attention to me?
And then like, yeah, they're like, does Tyler have game? And then Haleigh's like, no, because like, I don't know, maybe he's just not attracted to me, but like he's never tried with me. Like I love that both of them, their gauge of like, it's like if they're not being paid attention to and if they're not being flirted with, then it's like that is a red flag.
Yeah, I feel like it's very clear that like he, you know, he's like, he's annoyed about the ice cream. He's annoyed about the flirting. He doesn't understand why Tyler is getting all these women. I think he's very used to being the guy that gets the women.
Oh yeah.
And obviously this is also like the closer Tyler and Angela are, the worse it is for him if he does make it to the final four with them. Not that I think he plans on getting there anyway, but it is just this is all concerning to him.
Yeah, and he's saying to Haleigh as well, he's like, did I do this wrong? Like, should I have been doing this? Because like, I didn't think that this was something I was supposed to be doing. It's like, yeah, Brett's kicking himself now because, you know, two of the people in his his final four alliance are, you know, very, very probably
Canoodle.
going to pick each other over him. And they're not eating his desserts, and they're not paying attention to him, and they don't laugh at his jokes anymore. It's sad times for Brett. I feel for him.
Yes. All right. So that's basically what was happening yesterday on the feed. It's a pretty decent day and a slow week. We've still got some more stuff coming up in preparation for the double eviction, which should be very fun to watch. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Jenny?
No, I think that was it. I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned the mint chocolate gate thing again, because it's just Brett gets so animated over that. So as long as we got that in, then I'm good.
Yes. All right. So I will, of course, be back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happened today on the feeds. And, of course, tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we will have the Roundtable podcast. We will update the stock watch, do some more jury predictions, and the bonus questions, and we'll argue about things, and we'll talk more about the bitter jury stuff. I think it's a very interesting topic. So make sure you find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran, so you can find the form that I will be tweeting out sometime after this podcast. You can fill it out, rate the players, predict stuff, answer the bonus questions, whatever you want to do, but it will contribute toward the stock price in the stock watch for the Roundtable tonight. Very exciting stuff. And then, of course, tomorrow night we'll be live to recap the Wednesday night episode, and then Thursday after the double eviction we will be live talking about it. It'll be very fun.
I hope it's fun. I'm all in on double eviction fun at this point. I need it. Yes.
You can also find me on Twitch, Taran Armstrong, and again, Twitter at Armstrong Taran. Jenny, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter at Jenny Autumn.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. The American Ninja Warrior finale aired last night. Lita and I will be talking about it very soon. That podcast will come out. It was fun stuff. Make sure you check that out. And I will see you next time.